Okay, so today it's really a continuation of what we started on Wednesday. But as I said, I'm going to solve it with you. So I don't know how far you were able to get the exercise. But again, if you got stuck on anything, hopefully that will unstuck you. And if you still have questions, just ask as I go along, okay? So the idea is that initially, I'll solve this with you. You ask the questions, then you can jump to exercise 16 in our second half, okay? Okay, great. So here it is. Let's go from top to bottom here, 1 point at a time. So this is a Windows Form application called Vehicle. So I'm just gonna get that name. I'm going to start a new project here on Visual Studio. And I'm going to call that project, well, I have first to select the correct type of application, which is a Windows Form app, .NET framework. It's called Vehicle app. And I'll just get a new solution with that. So, next here, we're going to implement 3 classes. One is an abstract class, and the other 2 ones are concrete classes. So I will create separate files, but if you create separate files, if you do this in the same file, it doesn't matter. I'll just create separate files because I think it's better organized. So I'm gonna create the first class, the abstract class. So I'm gonna right-click on the project, add, and then class, and then that's the vehicle class. So I'm just going to call it vehicle, and it will add a file for me called vehicle.cs with a bare bones class, a class without anything inside. So this is an abstract class. Remember, abstract classes, you cannot create objects from that class. So we're just going to use the keyword abstract before the keyword class, and we have a few properties. Actually, let me open another Visual Studio with the solution so I can reuse some of the code. Okay. So this is okay. So what we have is we have a few properties. There are no fields. So if you don't see fields here, you have the choice to create them with private fields or without private fields, auto-implemented or not auto-implemented. So again, in this case here, it's auto-implemented because there are no fields. So I'm just gonna reuse from one that I have already defined. Okay, so again, each property becomes a property, auto-generated property here. We have name as a string, brand, price as a double, warranty as an integer, and store as a string. So I'm just going to copy that. Any questions here? So even though this is an abstract class, but an abstract class can have implemented properties, can have concrete properties. Those properties are concrete because we have a get and a set for them, okay? I'll also keep Padlet open here just in case if you want to ask something from this interface as well, okay? But again, padlet.com/Ederson/confusion. So no confusion, we keep moving forward. So let's see what else we have. So we have the properties, and then we have a method, which is an abstract method. If you have a look at the description of this method, you see operate. In vehicle class, it is an abstract method. It should be implemented in the derived class only. So that's fine. So again, I'm just going to declare the abstract method, but I'm not going to implement it. And so again, abstract methods, they don't have bodies, okay? It ends with a semicolon at the end of the line, and that's it. There's no implementation. There's nothing here. Now, before that, we also have the constructor, which takes five parameters. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this to start from that. So for each property that we have a different parameter here. So we have to assign them. We have to get whatever is coming inside the constructor. We have to assign to the appropriate property. Okay, so name will go to name. So capital name will receive the name that is coming inside, and I'm going to do the same thing for each property. The capital one, the property at the top, will receive the parameter that has been sent when the constructor gets called. And price. And then warranty in store. Let me copy some of that here. You can declare the parameters in separate lines. It becomes a little bit more readable in a small screen like this. So again, I just broke down the lines in separate lines, okay? So we have the constructor, which is an implemented constructor. This is not an abstract, you know. We have implemented how the constructor should work. Again, remember, abstract classes, they can have not only abstract methods, but concrete methods as well, okay? So it can be a mix. Any questions here so far? Anything? Okay, so next class here, let's create bicycle. So I'm gonna, again, I could have created it here inside, but I'm just opt to create as a separate file. So I'm gonna go add class, and that's by, I don't know how to write bicycle.
I don't know if this is Y or I.
Now, it has to inherit, so it's inheriting from the abstract class vehicle. So we have, at the end of the class, we have to put column and then vehicle. It's giving already an error here because, of course, there's nothing implemented here yet. So that's fine. It's just jumping the gun here. So what do we have to do for the new class? What is the first thing that you would do for the new class? Anyone? Yeah, let's add the additional properties that we have here. See, we have terrain and we have tire size. So let's add them. So they are public properties. Terrain is a string, and we have a get and a set, and we have tire size, which is an integer. And then we have a get and a set. Okay, so we have that. Now, let's take care of the constructor. See, there was not enough space here to put the full constructor, you can just scroll down and you can see the full constructor here. So let's declare the full constructor with not only the 5 parameters that we set out from the beginning, that it's inheriting from vehicle, but we also have tire size and terrain. So I'm going to create a constructor. And I'm just going to copy a little bit of code here so I can save a little bit of typing and just breaking the lines here, just adding to the lines. And then I have to implement this. Now, here's the thing. Because the parent class, the abstract class, it has the constructor, the only constructor that this class has, it has parameters. We have to call this constructor from the child. How do we call that? Well, you can call it at the end of the line of your new constructor. So you can say column, and then you can call the base, which is the parent. And as you open parentheses, you can see already that it's expecting a set of parameters, the parameters that are required to create a vehicle. So we have to pass, so it's really the same, it's not the same because it's not using these two, but we just have to send to the base the set of parameters that the parent is expecting. Okay, so we have to send. We don't have to redeclare them, okay? We don't do this. No, we don't redeclare them. We just send the values coming to this constructor. So we just send name. See, we are sending this name here, which is coming from here. We are sending the brand. We are sending the price. We are sending the warranty and the store. Okay? Let's see. Yeah. Any questions so far? Now what do we do with this constructor? What else we need in this constructor?
Assign the values to properties.
So bicycle has 2 new properties, okay? So we have to assign tire size to the tire size and terrain to the terrain. So as we did before, just gonna do tire size here equals to tire size that is coming from the parameter. And then we do the same for terrain. Don't forget to capitalize, otherwise be mindful when you are copying and paste things, because it's very, very normal, usual to forget to replace things, okay? I do that all the time. Okay, so we have done the constructor. What else we need to do here? We need to do the operate. So we have, now see, it's complaining that bicycle, it's inheriting from vehicle, but it's not implementing yet the abstract method operate. So it says, hey, you have to implement this method. So it's abstract in the parent, but it's concrete in the child. So now we're gonna redeclare it, but we're gonna override. And we're gonna make it a real implementation. I'm just gonna say return, and what is a return? That is expect. You need to pedal, yeah. Okay. That's it. So we're good here. So that's the implementation of bicycle. Okay. And we have to do the same thing now for car. Okay. The same structure. We have different parameters, but we're going to follow the same process to implement the car class. So we're going to add a new class here. We'll call it car. and this is inheriting from vehicle. And I'm just gonna, again, just gonna copy a few things from from one that I have already implemented. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna declare the extra properties. So if you go and see the model, see the UML diagram, car has 2 additional properties. So we're gonna create them. So the first one is it's an integer called number of passengers. We are doing also an auto get and set, so it's an auto property. And then we have fuel, which is a string as well. And I just put a comment here just to remind me that these are the possible values for fuel. What else could fuel be? I mean, again, fuel can be one of these 4. What have we seen before, at the beginning of at some point in our classes, that could be a good way to handle a finite number of options like this. Anyone recalls that? Enum, so enumeration. So we could create an enumeration called fuel or fuel types, and then we could say fuel is fuel type instead of being a string. It could be another way to handle this, but string, that's just fine. Let's leave it at that. Okay, but again, enumeration would be very welcomed here, but this is okay. Okay, so then, again, we have the constructor following the same structure of the previous one. We're going to create a constructor, pass all the parameters. Now, again, we have to call the base constructor because the base constructor, it requires parameters. So I'm going to call base, and I'm going to send all the parameters. Now, I'm going to send these parameters again, not extra to 2 because they are specific to cars only, to car only, okay? So I'm just going to pass them over, name, brand, price, warranty, and store. Okay, and of course, we have to create the body. Okay, our body will only set the number of passengers and the fuel. So again, number of passengers and fuel. We are passing these to the properties. Okay, so constructor done. Any question about the constructor? Therefore, the car now. And then we also have to implement operate. So let's copy the operate from the other one. We're going to override it here as well in car. And we're going to just change the message.
Turn the ignition.
Turn the ignition. And we have our 3 classes. Okay?
We're not gonna talk. We're not gonna touch those classes again, right?
No, we will not. We're good here. Yeah, so step 2 is done. So now let's create our UI. So I'm just gonna keep this here. Because we're gonna be creating an event for the form, I'll name this form slightly more appropriately. So I'm going to call it FRM vehicle. I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to put a text at the top as well. So the text goes in the text property. Remember that name is the name of the control. Text is the characters that will show up in the UI, in the interface. Okay. Then,
So what's the name for the?
well, again, you can name it the way you want. I would recommend that follow some sort of a prefix because it helps you as well. But again, at the very least, make it more meaningful. Okay, let's not leave it just form one or label. Well, text one, text box one, text box two. You're gonna see as we go through it. So I'm gonna create the group box. See, we have a group box here to add all those controls inside. So group box, if I can find. Okay, now here's a question. Will I be changing any property via code of this group box?
No.
Will I be changing it at all? No, we won't. So again, no need to rename it, okay? But we're gonna go to the text and put vehicle information. Let's add the button as well, create vehicle. Again, in this phase here, we are just drawing. Just don't worry yet about where things will go and how things will behave. Think about that once you put the controls in place, and then you think about that. So break down the task in smaller chunks. Focus on one thing at a time here. So focus on creating the UI here. Now, this button, I'm gonna get this button clicked. So we're gonna, either we will be doing that or Visual will be doing that, or we'll be putting some code about this button. So I'm gonna name this button more appropriately. So I'm gonna say btn create vehicle. And then the text, create vehicle. And then let's add 5 sets of controls, 5 sets of labels in text box. So let's add the first one, and we can copy and paste the other ones. Okay, so what I can do here, I can select both of them if I press Shift. Okay, so I can click the first one, I can press Shift and click the next one. And I can do a Control C and then Control V. I'm going to show you something to help you organize the layout a little bit better automatically for you, so you don't have to be shifting things. See, there is different spacing between those controls. There is something that we can do that will align them. Yeah, it's going to align. So right now they are aligned, but they are not distributed well. So we can click on this option here. See, make vertical spacing equal. So it will redistribute them, and you can do something similar to the labels too. Again, quickly we have the controls in place. Now, let's do a few things here. We don't need to name those labels because we're not going to be using them in the code. But let's put the text. So name. Let's change the text property. Name. Brand. Then price. Warranty. In store. Okay, so we have the labels, and then we have the text box. So let's name them appropriately because if there's a text box, for sure we're going to be using this text box somewhere in our code because we will be capturing user inputs. So we're gonna use that. So txt name, and then txt brand, and then txt price, and then txt warranty, and txt store. Okay, so the basic information is in place. Now let's add those two group boxes. Okay, so what's the idea for those group boxes? Just to, again, group information. I know that this information here is only for cars. This information here is only for relevant for bikes. So now here's the thing. There will be a question there, a point there that will ask you to disable one or the other. You could potentially disable and enable the individual controls, or you can do the enabling and disabling for the entire set. So you can say group box car dot enable equals to false. It means that this group box will be disabled and all controls inside of it will get disabled too. The reason why I'm explaining this is because as I'm going to opt to refer to this group box in the code, I'm going to name them appropriately as well. So
I
think it's GRB, and then cars, GRB car, and is that the car first one? Yeah. And then GRB. Okay, and again, I'm going to change the text that shows in the control. For bikes and for cars. So far, dealing with the UI here, any questions there, any concerns? Okay, so with that, now we're going to add the controls inside. So we have two labels. It's starting to become a bit small. I'm just going to increase a little bit here the size. And so we have one label, we have two labels. And then we do the same thing for the other ones. So let's just name them. Well, let's just change the text actually. So this is passengers. And this is fuel. And this one here, tire size. And the next terrain. Okay, and now let's add the controls. So we're going to have, for passengers and tire size, we're going to have the numeric up and down. And then for the terrain, we're going to have a combo box, terrain and fuel. Okay, and let's name them more appropriately. Well, okay, so let's name the first one up and down. And this is passengers. And this is tire size, numeric up and down, tire size. And then we have CBO fuel and CBO terrain. Okay, and we have the last group, the type of vehicle. So we're gonna add another group there.
What name do you give for passenger?
The name
Up and down?
in numeric up and down, so NRUD.
Sure, I think the other numeric up and down you named it different.
Oh, really? Up and down. I just put it up. Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna get a little bit more spacing here. And then this group box, I want to refer to it in the code, but I'm gonna say type of vehicle as a text. Type of vehicle. And then we have radio buttons. Two radio buttons. And because you're going to be referring to them in the code, so I'm going to say radio BTN. And this is car, is that car? And bicycle. RBTN. So, and then we change the text as well. And I think that this, yeah, this is it for the UI controls. Now, let's keep going through the exercise here. So here it comes what you have to do when you click the button. Well, actually before that. So we provide the proper name to the GUI controls. We did that. Declare and create a private field called vehicles in the form class. So when I say in the form class, remember this. I'm just going to go to the code behind. This is also called the code behind the form. Okay. Remember, the vehicle form is a class like any other class. It's just a special type of class because it has a form associated with it. Okay. But here's the class declaration. So when I say declare and create a private field in the form class, this is the form, this is the class, the form class. Inside of it, it's here. So we have to declare a field, declare a private field. As we did this dozens of times to any other class that we have created. So we're going to create a private, see, this is a list. So I'm going to say private list. What is the type that goes inside? Now, here's the thing. Are you going to be creating a list of cars, a list of bikes, or a list of vehicles? Vehicles, because we might be adding cars or bikes to that, and bikes to that the same list. So I'm going to say vehicle here. And I can say equals to new because I'm asking to declare and create. So create, I'm going to create with the new keywords. Create new list. We just repeat vehicle. And again, when we're creating an object, we use the constructor of the object. So we're using the parentheses there to indicate that we are calling the constructor. What am I missing here? Oh, of course, we are missing, what is it that we're missing there? The name. The name of our private field, which is vehicles. Okay? So again, what this is doing is declaring and creating. So you no longer need to create to say vehicles equals to new list of vehicles anywhere else in the code, okay? This is done. So use a combo box, okay? Okay, so we forgot something there in the UI. We didn't set the options there. Okay, let's go back to the UI. Fuel, we're gonna have gas, diesel, electric, and hybrid. So we're gonna go to the items. There's a collection of items. You can add them manually because we know them up front. So I'm just gonna, each line will have, I can just type in one, hit enter, type in the next one, hit enter, and then the next one, and the fourth one. Okay, so I'm gonna confirm. So we have that for fuel, and we have paved and unpaved for terrain. So we're gonna go there, paved and unpaved terrains. Okay. So this is about, okay, so now, here's the thing. If car radio button is selected, then if this is selected, this group is enabled, this one is disabled. If this one is selected, the opposite. Cars is disabled, bikes is enabled. So there are two aspects to this. One is what will be the initial setup of when we run this. So let's say that I run this right now. So when I run first time, well, there's something a bit inconsistent here. I should have one of those two types, one of them selected. And if I choose to, so let's fix that one. So let's say that we want, when the application starts, we want car to be the one selected. So I'm gonna go to the radio button car. I'm gonna go to the checked property, and I'm gonna change it to true. So when I run, the car will be selected. But I also need 4 cars or 4 bikes, and actually let me just adjust a little bit here. I'm gonna need, because car is by default selected, I'm gonna need bikes group to be disabled. So I'm gonna select here. By the way, just what I did right now, by accident, I've double-clicked this group box. It creates an event for me. What is a natural thing that you may think that you should do now? I'm sure that some of you have done that. Oh, I don't want that event there. And then you go and you get rid of it. Correct? And then when you try, actually I'm afraid to do that because I don't know if I can Control Z, but here's the thing. If you do that, you broke your form, okay? So if you try to go to your form now, actually let me go there. See, it's broken because the code created an event for you. That event name is linked to the control. And all of a sudden you delete that event. So again, the control can no longer find that event that was there before. So what is the proper way? And cross your fingers now. Okay, good. Okay, so the proper way is really go back to the form, go to the control, go to the event, and get rid of this name from here. So delete it from here, click inside, delete, hit enter, so you confirm, save this. Now you can, what is that?
Which one did you just change?
I just went to the bicycle one.
Okay.
And now I can safely, cross your fingers again, delete this, and ta-da, all good. Okay? So again, but it's very easy to get mixed up here. To, by accident, double click in a control, then you see an event that you don't want, and then your tendency will be delete the event. No. Actually, here's the thing. Let's make a deal. Don't delete those things. Don't worry about them. If you get them, leave them there. I'll just ignore them. Because, again, yeah, I don't want you to overcomplicate yourself. So if you see empty events there, leave them. Leave them. Okay? But don't tell that to the next professor, okay? I'm telling this. Keep this just between us. Anyway, so, but again, that's the proper way to do this. See, I have another one here. I double click at some point in this big group, and it has an enter here. I don't want that, so I can get rid of it. I can go back to the code now, and I can get rid of this one here. But again, do not delete events directly from the codes before you detaching from the control. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so we are disabled. Okay, so car is selected, then we're going to have bikes disabled. So I'm going to go to the group of bikes, the group box, and I'm going to go to the enabled property. So again, there's no disabled property, okay? It's just enable. Enable is true or false. If it's true, it's enabled. If it's false, it's not enabled, it's disabled, okay? So you can set it to false, and now what you have is this. Perfect. But we haven't coded to make this dynamic. So let's do that now. Now, here's the thing. There are different ways to skin this cat here, but I'm going to skin the way I think I think it's easier. I'm just going to click on the first one. I'm going to go to its properties, to its events. There is this event called checked change. So this event runs whenever the control gets checked or unchecked. This is not about clicking. Very similar to click, but slightly different. Because here's the thing. Click, I have to put the mouse there and click it. It cannot be done via code, okay? But if I change via code, this event will always run. So I'd rather use checked change. So I'm going to double click there. So it creates the event for me in the code, and I can do what I feel it's appropriate. So again, how are we going to handle the check? We're going to check what? We're going to check if what? If that checkbox, so
Where did you find the check change thing?
the events, when you select the control,
Yeah.
instead of going to properties, I go to this light bolt, and you see the events there. So I'm gonna say CBO what? Not CBO, sorry. Actually, we did name them. I think that we did name them.
RBTN.
Oh yes, we did.
RBTN.
So I'm gonna go if RBTN. So what is the property that we're gonna check here?
Equal check.
So checked.
Oh, that?
So yeah, so we're gonna check if checked is true or false. If checked is true, we're gonna do something. If checked is false, we're gonna do something else.
Can we say RBTN car equal check?
No, because we have to get to its property. RBTN car is the control itself. Okay, so because it's a boolean, this is enough for me. I can say it's checked, or I can do something like this. I could do this equals to true, but I can just to make it short, I can do something like this. And then what will happen here? This one, if the car is checked, the first one will be enabled. So I'm just gonna get the name. So dot enabled equals to true. And the other one, which is GRB, it's not GRB, oh, sorry. GRB bicycle dot enabled equals to false. Is there another way to write this? I mean, give me a way to write this in 2 lines instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instead of 5 lines. All right, I want to save some typing and make it a little bit smarter. So give me in 2 lines this code.
So if you have both of the group box, let's say disabled at first, and then you have it if, let's say, the radio button for cars is checked, then you can enable the group box for that one.
Yeah, but I have to disable the other one. I have to change
You have both of them disabled, let's say.
both. Okay,
First,
yeah, but if I keep clicking, oh,
then it's gonna switch between them.
okay.
He's right.
Let's. Here's the thing. This code here is just enough for both of them, actually. You don't need to write the code for the other one. I'll show you in a second. Let me mention this. Let's go back to because here's the thing. We have an else here. We still have an else. Before we shorten this, let's do our else. And we go back to how to shorten this in a little bit. So what is the else? It's the opposite. Because and then again we could say else if the other one is checked. In a way, you just have 2 options. We were talking about that. Remember? You just have 2 options. This would be enough. But you could say else if the other one is checked, so it's more explicit. Is that RB? And then we do the opposite. Okay. Now let's run this. Oops. Yeah, we didn't switch. Okay. Okay, so great. So you see, we just have to write once. Why is that? Because that event, it gets triggered not only when we click car, but when we change, actually it executes when we change the value, when this gets changed, you see? So either checked or unchecked, but it executes all the time. So you don't even need to care about the second one because the change of car is already handling what we needed. See, it's already doing that. But again, we could do this with, we could replace this entire thing here with 2 lines again. Yeah, with 2 lines of code. We could do something like this.
Just the dot enable equals to true and dot enable equals to false. Like, because it will be for the event it's private void check change.
It's simpler than that. We could do this. See, this we could use this. We could leverage this checked here. Checked is a boolean. Enable is a boolean. So we could do something like this. we could say so car gets enabled when car is checked.
Too complex.
Bicycle gets enabled when the other one is a negative.
Oh my god. No. I'm fine with
That's
this.
it.
If you stay nice, smoke here.
Instead of the if and else, you're saying?
Yep.
Bro.
Again, you can leverage the fact that these are booleans as well. Yeah, check. There's nothing fancy here. It's nothing special here. It's a boolean that we assign to a boolean. That's it. It's a true and false.
It's fine, but my brain doesn't work
That's fine.
well.
I'm here to kick brains.
Next semester. Next semester.
Anyway, either way would be fine. This is fine too. Nothing wrong with that. And this will be fine as well. Oops.
Think about it.
Okay, so we have that sorted out. What else we have here? So we are done here, we are done with this. Now we have to get to the button, get to the click of the button. By the way, I mean, do you need 5 minutes break? We usually have a break at this time. Or can I keep going? Okay, so let's keep going here. So then we have when the user clicks create vehicle. So we're going to go to the form. Again, there is something called the default event for the control. I can double click in this control and it will give me the event that I want. But I just want to show you that you can go to the events of the control, you can go to the click, or you can just double click here and it will do the same action. So again, you see, when I double click the control, it creates the event for me. So this is the click event, and a new vehicle will be created, and the information filled in the GUI will be used to set the vehicle properties. Okay, so let's do an if statement here. We can just, because we're going to be using the check boxes to check if we are creating a car or if we're creating a bicycle. So I'm just gonna use this basic structure as a starting point. Of course, I'm not gonna be doing anything here, not like this. So the idea is that if car is checked, I'm gonna create a car and add to the list of cars, to the list of vehicles. So different ways to solve this. I can very much just go declare a car here inside and say car, my car equals to new car. And then we're going to pass the properties, the values in the controls to the correct arguments in the parameter list. The first one is the name. Then you say, okay, where do I find the name? Well, let's go there. This is where I find the name. Okay, which property? Okay, let's take care of that. So I'm gonna call txt name dot text. That's it. So text is a string that is there in the field. I'm just gonna break the line here. Brand, we have txt brand dot text and then we go. Price. Price is a little bit different because price is double, text is string, so we have to do a bit of a conversion here. But let's put the control name first. So it's txt price. We have to get the text anyway. Now it's double. No need to do. Well, actually, we're going to be doing a try already, so that's fine. Let's just assume the best case scenario here, and we're going to go for a straight conversion. So we can just do something like a double dot parse, and then it will parse the string. It will try to convert to a double. Okay. Again, we are assuming the best case scenario, but we're going to be using a try block to be able to catch exceptions like the user didn't type numbers there, he typed characters, letters. Okay, so next one, warranty, it's similar as well, txt warranty dot text, but again, it's an integer. Well, I can use int dot parse. There are different ways to convert, okay, so you don't need, if you want to use another conversion method, you can. And then we have store.
So parse is converting to string automatically.
Yeah, it's trying to. It may not be able to, because if there are characters there, it will trigger an exception, but we're gonna handle an exception in a second here. So we have store now, so txt store dot text, and then we have number of passengers. So because we're using this control does not have a property called text. It has a property called value. So this will be slightly different here. So I'm gonna just get the control's name. I'm gonna call the control. We're gonna say dot value. But here's the problem. Actually, don't we have a problem? Yes, we have. Decimal, because it's a decimal, okay?
Yeah.
So again, you cannot send a decimal to an integer. So you have to do some conversion here. The easiest way to convert this would be to do a cast at the beginning, so you can say something like this, which will try to cast this value into an integer, okay? Parse won't work here, I don't think, because parse expects a string. Just, you see, it expects a string, so it cannot be a decimal. And then what we have? Fuel. Fuel is the cbo fuel dot txt. Text is the property. And so we've created the car. Now what? So we have to add to the list. So we can call the list. We can say vehicle list dot add, and then because a car is a vehicle and this is a list of vehicles, I can pass my car inside. And we do the same thing for the bicycle. I'm just gonna copy to save a bit of typing. But you're gonna say bicycle, new bicycle, my bicycle, and of course we have to adjust a little bit the parameters here, because in the end we are using tire size and terrain. So we're gonna call the other controls. We're gonna call tire size control. Then we're gonna go back there. So we're gonna get the tire size and we're gonna get the combo box terrain. Instead of fuel. So again, be careful when you're copying and pasting, because it's easy to miss things like that. Okay. Any questions? Okay, let's keep going here. Anything?
Where you are putting
Can I
the
see?
vehicle there, it can be out of the, because it's the same for both.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Oh, no, sorry.
It's a vehicle.
It's a car.
You could put outside and declare as a vehicle, but if you go outside and declare as a vehicle, remember that you cannot create a vehicle, because a vehicle is abstract. You would have to say that vehicle is either a car or a bicycle. But because you have declared as a vehicle, you would have to do some, it would be a little bit more complex to cast than what I'm showing here, okay? Let's go the simple route.
Can see the code.
Okay. So what else we have here? So when the user clicks on the create, so we are already doing the create vehicle button. We create a new vehicle. We did that. Use a try catch block. So let's validate inputs. So let's do this. Let's have let's wrap this up in a try catch block. So I'm gonna do a try, and I'm gonna put at the very bottom here. I'm gonna close the catch, and then I'm gonna call a catch here. What is that? Yep. And then if I keep just a catch like this, and screw up, it would catch any exception there. Would that be fine? It would work here. That's fine. I could say that I want to catch the, what is the one here? Is a convert something. It's a, what is it? Okay. I don't remember. So I'm gonna. So, well, actually, I'm not doing. It's let me check here. Format. So it's I think it's format. I think it's a format exception. But again, if you put just catch, the only thing that we're catching here really is if the numbers, if they enter anything that is not numeric for price or warranty. So again, you can leave it as generic as this, or you can specify the exact exception that will happen, and then you can say message box dot show, and you can say invalid input. So if I try to run this now, and if I try to create the vehicle, see invalid input because price, again, and warranty, and
Paying attention to something that I wouldn't even know. Right.
test. So again, now I can create, now there's no message yet, so that's fine. So let's keep going here. So we put a try catch block, and we show the message, okay, for a try catch block. Now, and I'll make the code available, okay, after we are done here. So try catch. So let's add. So we have added. So we have added to the list. Great. And let's clear all text boxes. That's fine. So again, I could very much, after the if, I could just go control by control, clearing the boxes. I'm just gonna get this here. I'm just gonna start clearing all of these because I want to enter another car, another vehicle. And then warranty. Now, to clear a numeric value, you should set this to 0. You're not really clearing, but you are resetting the value. So the numeric up and down, you set it to another number. So I'm going to just set it to 0. In the combo box as well, you just set it to empty string. Now, we did this tire size and terrain. I'm just going to make sure that we do this as well for number of passengers and fuel too. So I'm just clearing everything. Regardless if it's a car or a bike, I'm just resetting everything here. Here as well. And then, so just clearing all the fields. And the very last one is show a message box to show, no, call a message box to show the total number of vehicles stored so far in the vehicles list. So I'm gonna call another message box like this. Let's see, because if it's invalid input, yeah. So if it's invalid input, I'm not gonna call that. So I'm gonna call it right here. I'm gonna say, and then I'm just gonna get vehicles dot count, and I can say number of vehicles in the list. I can just concatenate this, and I can convert the count to a string. So now I think that I've covered everything. Anyone sees anything that has not been covered here? Let's give this a try. So again, it's doing basic validation. It's not validating if those fields are empty or not, but let's and then I don't know, and then 5 years, and then okay. So it goes to number of passengers and fuel, and then you hit create vehicle. See, it has added one. If I try to add this again, now how can you make sure, if you want to make sure, that the information is really there in the vehicle? Well, you could put, let's say, a breakpoint at any place here, and let's run it again. Let's add a bicycle now. So BMX. I'm gonna just put some test information here. Well, not that. So it's at $1,000, 3 years, and so number of tires, actually 29 inches, and it's for unpaved. So let me see here. Yeah. So when I click create vehicle, it stops right there, and then I can just move the mouse over vehicles. I can click this little arrow here. See, it shows position 0, position 1. I have a car in the position 0. I have a bicycle in the position 1. I can expand, and I can see all the info that was added before. I can see the other one too that we just added right now. And if we continue, we see the message that now the list has 2 vehicles. Questions? Anything?
So for message box stuff, sure. How can you do it for a specific, let's say, value or?
For a different message?
Yeah. Let's say if name is not entered, show this message, or if price is not entered, show this message.
So, again, so if we want to do that, before we do the check, we can say something like this. If txt name dot text equals to empty string. Then we can say message box, please enter the name. And then we can just exit this. We can, because if name is not filled, I don't want anything else to be done. So I can say return. So it will just leave. Please enter the name, and it doesn't do anything else.
It would put blank, empty again, all the fields when you return, right?
Well, when you return here, it doesn't do anything else. So it just checked the first one. Whatever you had on the other ones,
Really?
it will stay.
Okay.
See, it will stay, you see.
Okay. And then we can do fancy stuff like focus the field. and-
Yeah, I mean, we could even do, that's what I was going to do next. We can do txt name dot focus, because then it goes to that field. So actually, it's a method. So then you see it shows the message, and you see the blinking cursor goes back to that field. And again, sky's the limit from here. You know, you can go and keep changing and tweaking, and all of a sudden you are selling that to the dealership. Okay, any questions? I wanted to show two things before we go to the next exercise, which I don't think that we're going to be able to finish today. So I'll be providing the answer to the next exercise, not only the code, but as a video explaining how to do the next one. But I wanted to show just two things quickly. I think one is definitely relevant to you all. So on week 13, I've shared with you, let's just have a look at this first link there. Again, I don't know who from here will be coding, who from here will become developers, but just yesterday or 2 days ago, who knows what Stack Overflow is? I've asked that question before.
Who doesn't know what Stack Overflow is?
Who does know? Good. Because it's a good filter. If you don't know what Stack Overflow is, it means that maybe coding is not your career. But if you know what Stack Overflow is, yesterday or the day before, or even today, I don't know. But they announced their annual survey. So every year they survey all their user base. So they surveyed about 90,000 developers, from professional developers to people that develop just as a hobby. Who has coding as a hobby? Can you imagine that?
We have a life.
Anyway, this is an interesting link. If you want to check it out, you can see what is hot right now in terms of technology, in terms of development technologies. You can see where C# is. Let's have a look there. C#. See, C# is not that low. No, it's good. It's doing well. It's doing well. Now, JavaScript is up there.
So I'm doing good.
Python. I'm happy where C# is. But again, just to give you all an idea of, if you have the question, what's hot, what's on demand, you can have a very good idea via this survey. And there are so many questions. Again, just out of curiosity, just browse through. It will talk about a bunch of stuff. This is the one that really, I really like to look. All respondents, and there is also the professional developers. But again, it's right around here. See, it's above PHP, which is good.
Okay, it's not a programming language.
Anyway, again, just wanted to mention. You can have a look. The link is there. And I would like to ask for 5 minutes of your time to do this closing survey. Okay, it's anonymous. 2 questions. You can do it in a minute. 5 minutes is more than enough, and you don't need that. So, what is that? 2%? Well, it's my survey, it's my own survey, so you can, again, it's up to you. You can just be honest there, it's anonymous. There's, I won't know who did what, but it's a good tool for me to,
Feedback.
no, just to keep improving and see how things went and what could have been better. But again, there's so 2 questions from a scale of 0 to 10. No, you can read. I don't need to read it for you. But have a look there. Take some time from now until the end of the class, and I would appreciate that. Okay. And I'm here again. You can carry on with the other exercise, 16.
Only one question.
And you have, if you have feedback, you have a, well, there's the scale there, and then if you have feedback. So review this exercise that we did today. No. Review the recording if you need to. Carry on with the 16th, and again, I'll provide the solution. And for 15 as well, I'll upload the source code too.
Another something.
What's up?
Remember, we only have 2 hours.
I get it.
Think about it today, tomorrow,
I know exactly what I'm going to do already.
in front of the lake.
I know. I know, I get it.
Plus, I'm not that smart, so
That I don't get it.
oh my god. Do we have a database class today? Just submit at 5 a.m. I sent it. I sent it this at 5 a.m. I finish at 5 a.m.
Someone asked me if you still present.
Has to be something?
Yeah. It's done. Just want to show them. So where do I find the survey?
If you go to week 13, in the links at the top, right here, closing survey. Yep.
The interface have to be always declared as a public.
Sorry, say it again.
The interfaces are
Yep.
supposed to be always public.
The interface are supposed to be public.
Or does that work
No,
if we
that-
don't give any modifier?
It does, because public will only be necessary if you're going to use that interface outside of the project, outside of that assembly. So we have created a few classes. Here we created vehicle, we created bicycle and car, and we didn't have to say that it was a public class, and they were accessible to the other files as well. they are automatically internal. So they are not accessible outside of the project to other projects, but inside the project they are accessible.
Again, if they are not being used outside the project and we declare as public, so that's fine.
That's fine too.
Okay.
That's fine too.
If we have some queries from database
Yep.
for this forum, for example, the interface have to be public also because we are bringing information from outside, or it's only when we are sending information? What kind of interaction?
Well, but Roma, the interface that you're talking about is the interface class, correct? Is that, or the UI? That's the interface that she's referring to. It's not the interface you're talking about. Is the GUI, the GUI? Yeah, so two different things. So what's your question again?
When you're working with the external resource,
Like database, yeah.
you don't need to declare the class, the interface class, or the
The
UI.
form, you mean the form class?
So we have to modify one of those.
No, you don't.
Public stuff because
No.
we're bringing stuff from outside. No?
No, because you're gonna have other objects that they will be the ones that will interact with the database to bring data,
They're
and
like
then
in the middle there.
yes. In the same project, inside the same project.
For the list?
The code for the list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I lost.
In any case, I've also posted the solution, okay?
Okay.
So you have the solution zip file here too.
Okay.
So you can download it. So in case you haven't followed all the coding here, so exercise 15, the solution is already posted there, so you can download the zip file. Actually, try this as well. Try downloading this zip file and follow exercise 16 from this zip file. Because then you're going to be practicing how to download the zip, how to open, how to start enhance that. Because we may have a started project during the test, so you can get off the ground running without having to do the whole thing from scratch.